Alright guys, this has nothing to do with football or any sport. So this is actually going to be about 24, the TV show. So if you haven't seen 24 Redemption yet, or if you haven't seen the first 4 episodes of season 7 now, which aired, over the weekend, Sunday and Monday, just get out of this video, watch it, come back when you do, and then, because there are going to be a lot of spoilers here, and I don't want to be held accountable for that. So if you haven't seen it, get out. Now then, I don't watch too many TV shows anymore. I used to watch House, but I don't anymore. I watch most South Park episodes. I try, but sometimes, a lot of time really, I can't. I end up watching it much later on the internet. So I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, because when I'm watching TV, I'm watching sports. But one show that I always try and make time for ever since I started watching in like season 4 is 24. It's a very good show. It's very well done, well acted, well written for the most part. So that's something I always pretty much make time for. Last year we didn't get 24 because of the writer's strike, which was a drag. That was really disappointing. And then the previous year we had season 6, which started off very strong, but kind of ended up being pretty well below the standard that 24 sets for itself. Very much disappointing. And I don't know, it wasn't bad or anything. It had its moments, but I think a lot of people were let down by it. But I was walking into this episode, this season, fully ready for it to be better. So it starts off with 24 Redemption, which aired like 6-7 weeks ago, which was basically a 2-hour episode that took place mostly in Africa, where Jack Bauer has, fled to, because over the last 2 seasons, and this is something that was starting to annoy me, Jack Bauer kept having to run away from America. One season he was kidnapped by the Chinese and kept in China for like 3 years or something, and then he ended up having to fake his own death to get away, and he ended up alienating everyone around him and ended up having to go into exile outside of the country. And he was digging himself a hole. I mean, he was really running out of bridges to go over. He was burning all his bridges. So I was wondering, are they going to have to keep him in Africa the whole time? Are they going to have to, have it in some foreign country? That was what was annoying me. I mean, he was digging himself such a huge hole. How was he going to get out? So we go to this episode. He's in Africa, and what he does over the course of this episode is save a group of children, basically have them taken to America, because right now in Africa there's a mass genocide going on thanks to a group of rebels led by a Colonel Debaku. They're basically just going around and killing all the other Africans. There have been like 200,000 deaths already, hundreds of thousands more to come. Just kind of like if you ever saw Hotel Rwanda with Don Cheadle, it's like that. If you ever saw Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio, it's a lot like that. And basically they need to get them to the embassy and allow them to get on planes to cross over to America, get away from all the carnage. Now these kids are in a daycare, and the person who's running the daycare ends up actually getting killed over the course of the episode. And that ends up being really important because Jack has been subpoenaed by the U.S. to appear before a trial, before, court, for violations of the Geneva Convention that he committed in the previous 6 episodes regarding the torture of prisoners without following due requirements before you can engage in such acts on a prisoner. So he gets subpoenaed again. There's been a subpoena following him around, and he's basically saying, no, I'm not going, you can't make me. And well, they can't make him because, well, he's on the other side of the world, and they have more important things to worry about right now. So all they can do is just give it to him and tell him, hey dude, show up. And if he says no, there's not a ton they can do about it, because he can just keep running pretty easily, disappear. So when they get to the embassy, they're not letting anybody in because the U.S. has decided to remain neutral on the issue. So nobody can get in, nobody's allowed to leave Africa and the U.S. is actually evacuating the embassy. So as it turns out, the children, because they have the proper paperwork, are allowed to board the planes and leave Africa for America, but they need a guardian, and since the daycare owner was killed by a landmine, the Jack Bauer has to agree to be the legal guardian of the children, or something like that, which includes him getting taken back to America and thus forced to answer the subpoena. Meanwhile, a new president is being sworn in that very day. Allison Taylor is being inaugurated into office, replacing the previous president. I can't remember his name. And, there's the issue of it's the first ever woman president, so it's a big deal. And there's, the turnover of power. And we see the president's son, who seems to be doing pretty well for himself, with his girlfriend Samantha Roth. I think the son's name is Roger, who is, over the course of the episode, he meets with his friend who is a recovering drug addict, who was doing some work for a high-ranking official in, I think, the FBI, and he happened to cross something bad, basically. Something implicating a high-ranking official in the FBI. I think one of them is played by Jon Voight. I can't remember his name in the show, but he's played by Jon Voight, implicating their involvement in the mass genocide in Sangala, Africa. So he tries to tell the president's son, and the son is like, well, whatever, because the guy is a recovering drug addict. And those all set up the major plot points of the eventual season. And the nice thing is, I care about all of them. I care about the son, I care about the president, I care about Jack, I care about the Africa genocide. There are a whole bunch of different angles here, and that's what 24 does. 24 has like 4 or 5 different things happening at the same time, and I'm interested in all of them, at least right now. Last season, that wasn't true. Last season, there were some things I didn't care about. For instance, Jack Bauer's brother had a wife and son that they spent a lot of time with. I don't remember their names, but Jack Bauer had a brother who ended up being a bad guy, and that was actually kind of weird enough in itself, having his brother be a bad guy and then his father ended up being a bad guy. But they spent a lot of time on the brother's wife and their son, and I felt like, come on, move on. Get to something good. I don't think there's anything like that this time. So Jack is forced to return to America. The new president is inaugurated and the president's son's drug addict recovering friend ends up getting interrogated and killed because of the information he found out regarding the Jon Voight played character. And it's implicated at the end that the Jon Voight character suspects that the president's son may have been handed the incriminating information by the friend, and he's basically saying, I'm suspicious of this guy, we got to keep an eye on him, we might have to do something about it. And that leads up to season 1. It starts at 8 a.m. First episode, we see Jack Bauer standing trial before Red Foreman, actually. I don't know the real guy's name, but he played Red Foreman in that 70s show. They go back and forth. Did you break the Geneva Convention with your acts of torture, blah, blah, blah. And this is actually kind of weird. I'm not sure if I totally like this. Jack Bauer gets pulled out of trial by the FBI because they need his help with a terrorist threat that threatens to destroy the U.S. And I just think it's kind of funny that the FBI would actually go to this guy and say, we need your help with this, even though the ways